Hello everybody and welcome this evening. I'm Serena and we've got with us two lovely guests this evening. First off, we've got Toni, so we'll just hand you over to her so she can introduce herself and what she's up to. Basically, we are discussing this evening issues affecting girls and their choices growing up. So Toni is doing some fabulous things at the moment. So I'll pass you over. Hello, Toni.
Hi. I've got a blog called Got Gals. It's still like really in its infancy at the moment, but it's all about basically my fears growing up as a mum to three girls. So the kind of things that they're going to go through in their lives and the choices that they're going to have or not have, and the things that will affect them growing up, and how I feel like we need to try and change some of this and change the way parents talk about the different issues with their children and how they treat them, and then how the children then act themselves in those situations, and just try and just make life a little bit easier. And like, girls can be so horrible to each other. We need to just try and stop it. And I think getting to the girls at school, like a two-pronged approach with the parents and the children, and getting to them young enough to try and change it, might actually have half a chance of making a difference in the future for my children and obviously other children. So yeah, that's where
did the blog come from experiences that you'd faced as an inspiration for that?
Yeah, absolutely. It was the first that was the first thought of me doing it, and I thought for ages that I wanted to do something and kind of didn't really know where to go with it. And I'd listened to a podcast that Fern Cotton does, and I was actually listening to Paloma Faith, and Joe, what she was just saying about how she was one of those that actually really didn't care. Like, she just done her own thing. She didn't really have loads of friends, but she was kind of friendly with people, and she just didn't care. She just done what she wanted to do. And I was like, Joe, what? More people need to be like that, and we need to get this message across to girls that actually all the things you worry about at school don't actually matter once you've left. I mean, life is pretty much the same for everybody, isn't it? You all end up finding a partner and you have children, or you don't, or you do whatever. But the things that you worried about back when you're at school just seem completely insignificant now. So it's just, like I say, trying to stop that, so that you don't have to kind of grow up trying to get over your childhood and how horrible it was sometimes.
I think it's harder now than it's ever been. I know I'm 30, and when I was younger, there was still sort of worries and things happen that you'd worry about as a teenager, especially, and going through that sort of phase. But nowadays, with social media, and the girls aren't young for long anymore.
That's it. And I completely agree.
And boys and that, even before they're teens. So it's very very difficult. I mean, my daughter, who's coming up for 6, literally is already talking about, not boys, she's got a tomboy anyway, but she's already into makeup and,
Yeah, my 7-year-old's the same.
Yeah, and it's quite scary. I mean, I didn't even sort of pick up lipstick till I was in my teens. Do you know?
Oh my God, I was as well. I'm still not very good at it now.
No. So, in terms of your blog, is it directed to the girls, or is it more to the parents?
It's a bit of both, to be honest. So some of it is about kind of things that I dealt with growing up, and directing that probably more towards parents. And some of the issues, I've spoken to some girls that have ongoing issues and things that are going on at school and that kind of stuff, and they're telling kind of their side of how things are for them. And like you said, social media plays a massive part in it. Massive part. Things are so different. Like you say, I'm similar age to you, and it's so different now. Like they can't get away from it anymore.
And I think us as our age, I mean, I don't know if everyone, but a lot of people my age have sort of, for a lot of our life, has had social media and the internet and stuff like that. So I admit I'm quite obsessed with it, even at my age, let alone these teenagers now. They're literally on that's their life, isn't it? As opposed to,
Yeah.
you know, I've got friends with teenage daughters, and basically they're at an event or a barbecue or whatever, and their daughters are more worried about sending pictures on Snapchat, I don't even know what that is, you know, and that kind of thing, and being on social media than actually being present in the moment there. You know, it's kind of their life is
Absolutely.
online, so they're going to have a lot more struggles and pressure, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that me and my husband are quite conscious of. I mean, I was the same, like until quite recently, really. Like I was on my phone quite a lot, and now it's kind of become. Sorry, I've just got something on my screen. I'm just trying to wipe it off my face. That we need to set these examples for our kids. So now we try and, like, I've had to go out and buy an actual alarm clock so that I haven't got to take my phone upstairs with me at night time, because one of the girls I was talking to on my blog, she was saying like they take their phones to bed with them and they're checking it till like the small hours of the morning and stuff. And I think, well, actually, if I make a habit of leaving, me and my husband both do it, leave our phones downstairs, and that's the norm for our kids. They'll see that as mum and dad always leave their phone downstairs, we'll leave our phone downstairs at night time. And you know that becomes normal to them, and then they won't, hopefully the plan is that they won't become so obsessed with that and be on it throughout the night, like I know a lot of teenagers are.
How old are your girls?
My eldest is 7, and then I've got one that's 3 next month, and then one that's nearly 1.5. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I am mental. I am crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But they're lovely. So yeah.
And in terms of, so what issues have you put on your blog so far? You said it's quite fairly new, isn't it? But what sort of things?
Yes, there's not an awful lot on there at the moment, but the kind of the girl that I spoke to, Lily, she is 15, and she has been suffering from anorexia, and so she was talking about that and how it became so obsessive, and how, you know, kind of how she recognised that it was an issue and that kind of thing. Some about my daughter, like one of my children has got what they call Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome. Like no one has heard of it. I'd never heard of it before, but part of that is abnormal limb growth. So she's got one leg that's longer than the other and thicker than the other as well. I think that for kids, you know, it makes her a target straight away. Like it's something that's not normal, so it's something that children will jump on. And I think it's important that, I mean, I know you know, she'll have her group of friends and they'll know what that is and they'll accept her for that. I know that, but there will be a wider group of people that will think that makes her weak, and that's an opportunity to pick on her. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, she's quite a strong-willed girl anyway. But,
Yeah. Well, they're well, I can sympathise with that because my daughter's epileptic, so
yeah,
obviously she has absent seizures. So and
yeah,
already only being 5, that's an embarrassment for her at school, even at a young age.
yeah.
Obviously, the hope is that by a teenager she'll be, you know, controlled with medication.
It's freezing on me now.
Sorry about that, but yeah, it's very difficult. I think we keep coming back to this sort of thing. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think we've lost Toni for a second. So we'll go quickly. Oh, hello.
Sorry, yeah, frozen. Sorry.
Did you hear any of that I then said, or?
No, not really.
No. I was saying because my daughter's epileptic and she's
right.
obviously she has absent seizures, and that basically
Yeah.
is already affecting her, and it's kind of going back to that sort of normal thing, and we've touched on that again and again. I think that is the main point with girls, especially growing up, obviously boys as well, but girls, is that they're very impressionable to what is normal, aren't they? You know, they look at their peer group and, you know, they feel they have to fit in, they have to be like everybody else. And I think it's about sort of saying that there are a lot of different normals, and that, you know, you're being unique, you can fit in, you don't have to fit into it, but also your normal is normal for you in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So right, I'm conscious that we've got an anonymous guest this evening, so I don't want to leave her out of the conversation totally, even though her camera's off. So, hello there, you're right. Would you like to? Obviously, we don't want to introduce you because of want to keep your identity secret, but would you like to sort of give us a little background on and sort of explain to us the issue you would like to talk about, and then we can kind of go from there and discuss that. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
So do you want to sort
Hiya.
of, yeah, do you want to go into exactly what you want to discuss?
So basically, when I was 18, I got pregnant, and it was never the healthiest of relationships, but I had my son at 19, and basically I didn't really do any research because I didn't think I had to. So when my son was born, I basically let my partner at the time fill out all the forms. So he said that he'd claim the benefit because that would make it easier to help with the housing benefit. So basically I didn't see any problem with it, except from when my maternity allowance ran out and I couldn't actually claim the income support. So I had to go on to job seekers, and I had to basically do everything differently to what a normal like mum would do. So from there I basically had to go back to work, and I found myself in a situation where I his schooling couldn't be near my house, and I was finding myself in a situation where I was always singled out because he was the parent claiming the child benefit, and because we split up when our son was 2, I think he was. So yeah, it's been a really hard time, and I'm still going through it basically.
So in terms of um, being so young when you obviously fell pregnant, and a lot of young girls do obviously fall pregnant in relationships where they're obviously, you know, it's not planned or whatnot. What advice would you have wanted to be given or support, you know, at the time?
One would be sort of maybe abusive relationships because it's a form of abuse, and also just I want to be able to educate young women on the implication that the child benefit actually is. It's not actually about the money that the child benefit is. It's about being a parent and the main carer in the eyes of like the social security, because I just think that, you know, people don't see it because they haven't really experienced it. But I would like to educate people just to know a little bit about the implications it could have.
And so do you feel from that then, you said your ex-partner filled out all the forms and that kind of thing, do you think being young and the naivety of it, of the situation at the time, kind of that helped your rights be taken away from you as such in terms of your child?
Yes, definitely. I think that, you know, I kind of lost him then, if you know what I mean, because now I'm not the main carer of him and his father is. And I tried to fight it, but his schooling is near his father's house and his doctor's surgery is near his father's house. And it's just made it a really challenging situation.
And do you think you'd have done anything differently, sort of knowing, you know, as if you were older?
I'm not sure, because I think, you know, you never experience it. You know, when you aren't a mother or a parent, you don't know, and you only know when you get told. And I think that I personally have struggled to come to terms with it all, and I still go through it. It's still really difficult, even though I have shared care of my son. I just feel that he was sort of taken away from me then, because I was naive, and I didn't I didn't know. And if I'd known, it would have been different and I could have said no.
I think, Tony, have you got anything to add to it? I suppose looking at this situation from a wider perspective, um, thinking of it in terms of young girls and how impressionable they are to other people that, you know, they care about and that they feel care about them. I suppose it can be that from a wider context and actually how impressionable younger girls are, you know, when they are growing up and through their teens especially. You said about the eating disorders and that sort of thing, you know, how impressionable. And, you know, I know when I was younger, you can be led up a garden path quite easily by, you know, like on anonymous caller with the, you know, they trusted this person to make these decisions, and then obviously, now looking back, the decisions were made by someone else, and that they don't have control of the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think especially at that sort of age, like you say, you are really impressionable, but you think you know everything. So you kind of, well, I know I certainly did. You know what I mean? I felt very independent at that age, and actually, you are still young, and you don't know everything, do you? You do still need advice and guidance from people around you. So unless you're getting that, you don't know, do you? You fall into. I've definitely found myself in situations when I was younger that I didn't want to be in, or I look back on now and I think, well, that really wasn't a good situation, but because I felt like, oh, you know, I know better and I can trust this person, or you know, whatever the situation happens to be, because like you say, you can be really easily led because you believe, if you believe someone cares about you, then you believe that they're doing the best thing for you, don't you? Because you don't necessarily know any different at that point. It's only when you kind of have been burnt a bit that you kind of learn to realise, actually, you know, this isn't the right thing to be doing, or this isn't quite adding up, and then you kind of can look at other options and things. But like the guest says, you until you know, you don't know, do you? You're quite easily led, I suppose.
I know my brother and sister-in-law, they had a baby. My brother was 20 and his wife now, but obviously girlfriend then was 18, and or 19, I think she was just 19. And yeah, that was really hard. And I think that my parents and her parents were very supportive, and they sort of helped them through the process. I think becoming a parent is a massive responsibility, even when you are, you know, older and had more life experience. But I think when you're younger and only sort of just out of childhood yourself, as it were, you are very impressionable. And I think if you don't have that support around you, I mean, anonymous caller, did you have sort of family support and stuff at the time, or did you push them away, or what was the situation?
I had support. I did have support. I had quite good support from my parents. However, they didn't know either. They didn't, because my mum's even said to me, "You wouldn't have known, you know, because you don't understand. Like, it's the norm for a woman to claim it, because that's what it was bought. The child benefit was brought in for originally, was for women to, because they weren't working. But in this situation, I found myself, you know, completely different, because he said he would claim it. But yes, I completely agree that it is, you are naive, and you don't know until you are in a situation like this.
Yeah, I think
To be fair, that's not even now.
yeah.
Yeah, even now, like after having 3 children, I actually didn't know that. So, you know, it shows anyone. And after you just had a baby, you're very vulnerable as well, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? And you know, you
Yeah,
are.
no,
And
I remember it well. I was very tired, and I just, I was like, yeah, you sort it out. And to this day, I don't claim any benefits. I work part-time and I live off of that. And he also tried to claim the child maintenance. Even though we have shared care of our son and he gets the benefit, he tried to claim child maintenance off of me as well. But
That's
yeah,
really.
I fought that one and managed to get the case closed.
So I suppose that it's not only because we're looking at from sort of that your rights were taken away with, you know, being young and stuff like that, but also there's the issue there about, you know, you have got joint care of your son, but you know you're really struggling in terms of a woman to try and work or a mother to try and work, you know, being a single parent as it were at the time you have, and work as well and not getting any support either. So financially, that must be sort of a struggle on you and your mental health and stuff like that as well.
It's had a lot of implications. I can't actually afford, like, the housing benefit. I would only be able to get housing benefit for a one person, which is £275, I believe, just because I basically am not a parent, so it looks like I don't have the child. It's horrible, and I'm got a meeting with my local MP just to see, you know, see where I stand, because how am I meant to afford to live? How am I meant to afford the rent when I'm working part time, don't claim any benefits at all, and basically can't afford it.
And in terms of, I'm just trying to, my trail of thought has just gone. Sorry. In terms of, I suppose it's not just the finances, you know, that is a massive part of it, but also you touched upon there something you then said triggered a thought to me, saying you almost are not seen as his parent, his mum, by like, you know, the authority. So how that must have an impact on you as a mother, because I think for me, if someone sort of didn't acknowledge that my children were my children, I think that would have a massive negative effect on my brain and how I feel about myself. That must have a massive impact on your emotions and how you feel yourself.
It does, definitely. Like, every day is basically, it's just so difficult, just because you look at your children and you sort of, you know, sometimes they look like one parent, and I sort of look at my son, he looks like his father, and I'm like, you know, you sort of, it reminds you every day that I'm not the main carer of my son and his father is, even though, you know, it seems very unfair, but it is very difficult living with it.
So basically, when it comes to the forms that you fill out, you know, when your baby's born, can that not be reversed then? It can't be changed at all?
You can, I could apply for the benefits. However, my son's school is near his father's, and also his doctor's surgery is near his father's. So even if I tried to apply for the benefits, I think that I'll probably get turned away. Just, and then it would also leave. He'd go sort of like, ha ha, you tried and failed, if you know what I mean. So I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want him to be able to say that I basically failed.
So I think the theme coming across here though is definitely more education for younger girls through any, you know, like Toni then said, and I didn't know, you know, that what you claim from, you know, authorities would have an impact on you as a parent, and not just financially, but, you know, mentally and kind of, you know, in the eyes of everybody else. You know, that's quite a powerful thing, you know, and to not know that when you first become a parent is quite scary, really. So I suppose it comes back to making sure that young girls, when they do fall pregnant, not just being educated about how to care for a baby, you know, but also all the other things that will impact their lives, you know, whether it be finances, abusive relationships, you know, relationships as a whole. Because I think young girls, you know, they are very impressionable. They are very trusting. You know, I was going through life very trusting of past partners, and different things have happened to me growing up. And I suppose it's just about having that wide range of knowledge when a girl is in a difficult situation, whether it be get pregnant or, you know, go off the rails and, you know, be addicted to a substance, or, you know, like Toni said, have an eating disorder. Being able, you have all those facts and that education available to them, really. What do you think, really? Look like you digest.
Yeah, I completely agree. Until yeah, until you you know, until you experience something to make you not trust, then you have no reason to, do you? And by that point it can be too late, can't it? So it's, yeah, it is about education. Girls need to know what you know, what options are available to them, and how to obtain that as well. Because I mean, I know a lot of people know, you know, there are charities out there to help with eating disorders or to help with certain other things, but people don't always know how to access them. And one of the things that Lily was saying to me was that, you know, they do have support at school for eating disorders and different things like that, but it's based right in the main office, so everyone sees you go in there to see somebody, and everyone sees you come out. And, you know, she was saying one thing that they done was have, like, you know, a group of people that might have been suffering with eating disorders, but they all have to go in there and eat their lunch together. And it's like, that's not what I want to do. It's not going to help me. So it's not always, you know, it's about being able to access it freely as well, in a way that is going to help. So, I mean, I know I wouldn't go into somewhere for help if I knew that everyone knew I was going there. It's not, you know, it's not something that you want everyone knowing about all the time, especially when you're at that young, impressionable age where, you know, if someone goes in there and then they start a rumour like, oh, such and such went in to see the nurse for this, and then it just starts everything off again, doesn't it, about something else. I don't know. I just think girls have got it so hard now.
I think as well they, you know, even if the schools have got things in place to sort of support youngsters, whether it be girls or boys, also it's detecting issues as well. Like, you know, sometimes when you're young and you're very impressionable and you're very sort of, you don't really know what normal is sometimes. You know, you could be in a relationship, you know, as our anonymous caller, you know, was experienced some sort of emotional abuse and stuff like that, but not be aware of that, because, you know, so, you know, self-diagnosis is hard enough when you're older and you're a woman and you've had experience, but when you're younger, you know, my first relationship behind closed doors was very abusive, you know, physically as well as emotionally. And at the time, that was my first proper relationship, and I didn't know any different. So to me, you know, I thought he was besotted with me. But now my husband now would never treat me or do things to me what he did. But you just don't know until you've had, like you say, until you know. So I suppose it comes down to you know, I'm obviously doing the chat show, and there's lots of things like this out there for women and girls to access online and stuff like that. And the same with you, Toni, with, you know, your blog and reaching out that way. But surely it's got to be getting them at school level, you know, especially like infants.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But
absolutely.
But how?
Yeah,
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And the things, you don't want to put too much on them too young either, do you? Because you don't want to take away that innocence from them. Because I mean, we do obviously make a conscious effort with my daughter about, you know, if we see someone that's in a wheelchair, for example, she might ask why and that kind of thing. And completely honest with her, but there are different levels of information that you give at different ages, isn't there? So I don't want to, start making her worried and scared about everything by telling her too much too young. So
I was listening to Radio 2, I think, a few months back now, and they were talking. They had a show about sex ed and kind of what age they should bring that in, and what whose responsibility is it? Is it the parents? Is it the school? Is it a bit of both? And I think from the school, I always sort of went with it's a dual approach, but from the school's defence, they have a lot that they have to cover in a school day, that not just the curriculum and academic stuff and that, they now have to do the healthy eating and the fitness levels, and they're judged on all these different things, at each key stage of a child's development. They're having to hit these ridiculous targets, where does it leave room, especially, for sex ed or given all this additional advice and support, because there's not. So then it's also, is it the parents' responsibility? But then parents, with the cost of living nowadays, I'm a working parent obviously, so I'll call as your working parent, so what it's like. It's kind of, how would we have the time to do it? So it's almost like that. You need a dual approach.
Some parents don't have the knowledge to be able to do either.
No, you're right. Like, I suppose with me, I feel I'm quite lucky, loose term, but I've had things happen in my life. I've had disorder, and I've had abusive relationship, and I've had been a cheated on. I've had different things happen in my life, like everyone does. So I would like to think that my daughter could come to me with a problem, and I could help. But also, there are abundance of a million other problems she could come to me with, which I've had no experience of, that I have no idea where to go. And that's even after it's been detected. If you don't detect it in the first place, there's no hope, is there? So I'm sort of sending myself round in circles with questions, but
it is hard.
What do you do?
One of the girl that I spoke to, Lily, bless her, I mean, when she first started with the fitness and stuff, that's how her eating disorder started. Her mum was actually encouraging her, because her mum had just had another baby, and they were going to the gym together, and they both said at the point that it started that Lily probably did need to lose a little bit of weight as well. So it was something they were doing together as a bonding activity. They would go to the gym together, they would swim together. So her mum actually encouraged it, obviously not realising how it would turn out. So it can quite easily go complete opposite way to what you're expecting it and hoping it to go as well. So it is really, really tough, really tough.
And I think as parents as well, you're always trying to do the best for your children, but sometimes we're still human as well, aren't we? We're not like super women, and we can't always make things better. So going back to our anonymous guest caller, do you think there's anything that you would have liked education wise, looking back at that sort of time, or even before then?
Definitely, I think that if there was more out there to know more information, then these sort of situations wouldn't happen. I think that I wanted to do like a column in the EDP, or in a paper or magazine, just sharing my story, because other people must have been through it, other people must have seen it, and surely it's not the first case and it won't be the last. But I hope that more people will see it and sort of learn from it and not fall in the same trap I have.
I think there's a common theme as well here on saying that you know, we're talking openly about issues this evening. Toni, in your blog, obviously you're putting forward issues that are maybe not addressed, or stories of you know, of your life or others that you know, people can resonate with. Obviously our anonymous callers saying about going to MPs and papers and national papers and stuff like that. So I think maybe it's just a case of carrying on as we all are, and actually just making sure that, you know, we get as many women and girls to share their stories and experiences, and, you know, talk about issues, you know, encouraging young girls, if they're going through stuff, to speak out about things, and so that other girls will hear and hopefully not, you know, fall into the same pitfalls as them, maybe. I don't know,
absolutely.
not just one
Shout
answer.
loud. Sorry, they say if you shout loud enough, then, you know, people will listen. So I think you're right. I think people just have to carry on sharing and telling their stories, and hope that, you know, someone else will learn from it, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. So Toni, what is the plan for the blog then going forward? What is the...
So I want to get some podcasts up and running. I've been playing about with some software, but I'm not sure that I'm confident enough to edit them yet. So, but just talking to different people about things, you know, that they've dealt with and pressures that they felt and how they overcame them. I've got some plans for 3 generations actually to talk about different pressures that they felt in their lives, obviously over the years, and how things have changed, and then obviously any advice that can be given and passed down. But I want to start getting this, you know, out there a bit more, and you know, getting into schools and talking to girls about it, and maybe even if it just makes them think, well, actually, yeah, do you know what? Maybe I've not been very nice to somebody, or maybe I can see that someone's struggling, or, you know, and then just hoping that I can help them help other people as well, and think, well, maybe, you know, if I stop doing this, then this will be nicer for someone else, maybe. So I don't know. Like I say, it's still very infant stages, but, you know, I know there's good cause backing it, so I just got to see where it goes really for now.
Brilliant, fabulous. And is there any other support you know, we've got some people viewing. Let me just have a look to see if we've got any comments tonight. Oh, we've got 4 people watching, but no one's commented. Everyone's sitting back and just letting us do all the work. Look. But is there any, you know, if someone's watching this later on, is there any support or anything anyone can do to support your campaign of getting it out there, or
Yeah, just share as much as you can. Like, there's posts on there. Also on the blog page, I've got different links to different support networks and stuff as well. So even if you just share and someone reads something that, you know, they can relate to, and they can see that there's support on there as well, then hopefully, you know, even if that helps one person get the help that they need, then
what's the website?
it is Got Girls blog.
Brilliant. Yeah.
There's a Facebook page as well. So.
Fabulous. Well, if you could share the links in the comments as well for anything, that would be amazing. So as we sort of round up, anonymous caller, is there anything that you'd like to share as your final message, especially to young girls or anyone sort of pregnant at the moment that's younger, sort of, or just had a baby or whatnot?
Just make sure you have a look online, make sure you know the implications of not claiming the benefits. The benefits can't actually be split. It would be a change in law that would split the benefits, because it can only be claimed by one person, which is something we could maybe look at trying to get the law changed so it can be split when we have shared care of a child. However, I think that young girls just need to be mindful of their actions, and obviously seek support where they can, you know, rely on friends and family, and even, you know, if they're ever unsure of anything, go to Citizens Advice or look online.
And I suppose as well, it's kind of that also making sure that they protect themselves and obviously the future of their child, because you never know, especially with a young relationship, what could happen between the parents. So I suppose it's making sure that you protect yourself as a woman and your child, to make sure that you're always going to be provided for, as it were.
Definitely. I think also you need to be really careful, because he could, that person can be absolutely lovely, tell you, it's going to be fine, you're going to get married and everything, and so he claims it, and then a couple of months later, that's it, and you're stuck, because he sort of lured you into this, as we were talking about earlier, the trust. And you've got to be really careful, and they have to try and do their research as best as they can. But that's all the advice I've got, really, because you're not going to know to do the advice unless you're told, or to look.
Definitely. And would you say, just going off on a little bit of a tangent, would you say this has had any impact on your child at all, or?
Probably, because it's obviously quite stressful for me, so it probably rubs off on him, because he can probably see the stress and feels the stress in the atmosphere. I think it's not been easy, and I'm still going through it with the housing, because I'm trying to get a house, and so it's really difficult to be able to do any of that. Get stability for him and make sure that he's well looked after. I think you have to be really careful with which routes you go down, because then that person can turn around and say, well, you're now not stable, and takes it further and tries to use that against you even more.
I suppose it's important to highlight, just finally, that as as you're growing up as a young girl, your decisions do affect later in life, don't they? As with you, anonymous caller, that this decision has had a massive impact on you years down the line, where you're still sort of going through issues. But also we've touched, Toni, on eating disorders, and I know I've spoken to girls who have actually affected their fertility and stuff like that through having exercise addiction and eating disorders and such like. So we are actually doing a chat show in a few weeks with someone who's had an eating disorder, and how that's impacted on her life growing up as a woman. So that might be one, if anyone's interested in that, jump on board in a couple of weeks. But any final message from you, Toni, before we go off air?
I guess it is just to think about how your actions can affect others. Really, you might think it's all fun and games at the time, but like you say, it has lasting impacts on people. So you think about what you're doing, really, and what you're saying to people.
Fabulous, brilliant. Well, we'll go off there, because I feel quite emotional, actually. I've been sort of, as we've been talking, I've been kind of thinking of my own daughter and thinking, crikey, she might not have any hope by the time she gets teenage years. So
really scary.
It's absolutely scary. But I'm looking forward to sort of listening to your podcast, Toni, and reading your blogs as well. If you could pop the links in the comments, that would be amazing. Obviously, if anyone is watching this live now or on replay, and they've got any advice for our anonymous caller, or any support networks, or anywhere that she can go for assistance on her situation, then please get in touch with us for her, and we can pass stuff on, or pop details in the comments. That would be amazing. So thank you both ever so much for joining me this evening. I'm now going off to have my tea. Tummy's rumbling. I don't know if you heard, but it's like, thank you both so much. And we are, I'll just let everyone know who's watching. The next chat show will be on the 4th of June. Wow, I can't believe we're going to be in June already. 8 till 9 p.m. and we're talking about there's a movement called I'm a Queen, which is basically about showing women that they are basically empowering them to be who they are, unique. So quite a good follow on to this show really. So that will be on the 4th of June. So we will see you here then, hopefully. Thanks again both, and good night to everybody. Bye bye.
Good night. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.